On Across an Arrow Chapter 10, Across the Horizon.
You mind telling me what this is all about?
Applejack looked around the library walls and its piled tomes of knowledge.
Beats me. I woke up this morning to find Dusk gone. That alone worries me. He's not usually up until way later. Then I find a note from him. It said to bring you guys all together. Sorry about the early wake-up call, but he said it was urgent.
Oh my, if it's managed to get a librarian friend out of bed at such early hours, then it must have been important.
Butterscotch pawed at the floor, looking around uneasily.
I wonder what it could have been. Oh, I do hope it involves Angela. I've been worried sick since she went missing yesterday.
Don't worry, guys. I've got a few ideas on what it could be.
The farmer rolled his eyes.
Blitz, I sure done hope you're gonna say what I think you're about to say.
Blitz, you're not going to talk about our doubles again, are you?
You've all met them. At least 2 of you have gotten crushes on them. I'm kinda sorry I missed out on seeing Barry's double, though. That would have been fun to see.
It was fun. We had a good time together. We were gonna throw a party, but then Cousin JJ ran away with Pinkie Pie and then Dusk said no.
The remaining colts all shivered at the thought.
Ugh, 2 berry bubbles. I can still see it. They bounced right in front of me on their way to the bakery.
Aha! So you do believe!
There was a snort and a polite shove out of personal space.
Rainbow Blitz, please. While it was unsettling, there's still no reason to believe that Ponyville has been invaded by opposite-gendered versions of our very own...
It was right then that Barry's eyes shot open wide, as his hind legs kicked out. They all stared at him, as he proceeded to spasm right in front of their eyes. Hind leg spin, foreleg spin, and then finally a violent full-body tornado. The display was enough to make Butterscotch cower behind Applejack's flank. At last, the party pony's motions came to a halt, body descending lightly to the floor. He stared blankly into space for a second before leaping into the air and splitting it with a squeal of,
She's here! She's here! She's here! She's here! She's here! She's here!
Before Applejack could open his mouth to ask the question on everyone's mind, the library's door swung open. Stepping into the threshold came the familiar form of Dusk Shine.
Dusk, where have you been? What exactly is all...
Any further words that he had died on his lips as a second Dusk Shine followed him into the room. The only difference between this one and the original being a delicate snout and the presence of additional curves. She was unmistakably a young mare, as was the orange hat-bearing cowpony that came in right behind, who was also followed by a cyan, rainbow-maned filly. The males all continued to gape as a yellow Pegasus followed close behind, their eyes especially going wide at the sight of a glamorous white unicorn. And heading up the rear, to eliminate any remaining doubt in their minds, was a bouncing perky pink pony. Said pony was the first to speak as her blue eyes took in the room, resting them on a familiar face. She broke away from the group and leaped towards the colts.
Pinkie Pie!
The aforementioned equine jumped to his own hooves and bounced forward. The pair met halfway in the middle, simply bouncing around in circles for the sheer fun of it, chanting, "You're here," over and over again. Blitz broke his eyes from the scene to focus on his librarian friend.
Dusk! You did it! You caught our weird doubles! I knew you could do it!
Hey!
The blue stallion suddenly found his face full of vibrant mane as his own doppelganger zoomed up to him.
He didn't capture us. We came willingly.
Now faced to rosy-eyed face with his female alter ego once again, he had to pause to fight down the lump in his stomach before rounding about on her.
Oh yeah? I bet he made you an offer you couldn't refuse, filly faker.
There was a honk as a pair of blue noses were squashed together.
Oh yeah, I didn't see you coming up with any brilliant options, Colt Crutter.
Oh, now he was mad. His nostrils flared as he pressed his head against hers.
Colt Crutter? That sounds a bit too close to Colt Cuddler if you ask me.
She pressed back against him with equal force, wings beating rapidly, rainbow-hued manes becoming tussled as they all but wrestled.
What do you think Philly Faker sounds like to me?
Then they both yiped in unison as they were yanked to the ground by their tails, a pair of southern voices admonishing them.
Dash, stop harassing the man. It ain't proper.
The 2 country horses looked up from their friends at the same time and caught each other's faces. An awkward silence descended between them as green eyes went wide.
Cousin JJ?
She gave him a sad smile as she shook her head.
I'm sorry, cousin. My name tain't JJ, and it tain't Jonica Jonagold either.
The orange stallion felt his knees grow weak as he took in her form for real this time, unadorned, plain-spoken, and so very similar to himself. He spied the hat upon her head, an eerily familiar hat.
Cousin, where'd you get that?
She took her hat off and held it in her hooves.
My pappy gave me this hat. When he did, he told me, AJ, for as long as you wear that hat, them farm belongs to you. Make them apples grow big and strong, Sugar Cube.
Tears were gathering in her eyes, ones that reflected his own as he recalled the exact same speech.
You're not just my cousin, are you? I didn't want to believe it, but Dusk was right, wasn't he?
The blonde mare tossed the hat back onto her head before reaching a hoof up to wipe at the tear.
No, I'm not just your cousin. You already know what my name is a bit. But you know, I'm still an apple. I'm still family. Even in this world, I'm still Applejack.
In the background of this exchange, a yellow filly scampered from her place in line towards a certain Pegasus. His face lit up as he saw her, and the little rabbit running by her side. Fluttershy dove right at him with a shameless nuzzle.
Oh, I'm so sorry about making you wait so long.
It's okay.
He showed no signs of backing down from her affection. Indeed, he appeared to be attempting to return it.
I'm just glad to know you're all right. I must admit, I'm rather confused about everything going on here.
Oh, well, I may have gotten you into trouble earlier. You see, when we first came here, I had to pretend to be you.
You did? But you don't really sound like me.
Well, when you pretend to be coughing, it becomes a bit more believable.
Oh, so that's why Dusk came to my place, thinking I was sick.
Before the two could say anything else, there was a thumping on the floor between them. The butter colt's attention was swiftly directed downwards to an impatient-looking white lapine.
Oh, Angela Bunny, I'm so glad to see you're all right. What happened?
We did.
Fluttershy rubbed a hoof in embarrassment.
Twilight didn't want us found, so when Angela found us, we had to lock her up.
At this, his face took on an expression of outright surprise. He looked back down at the rabbit again and softly asked,
Did they treat you okay, Angela?
To both ponies' surprise, the little rodent leaned over to Fluttershy and hugged her hoof before returning a smile and nod to the pink-maned male. Towards the edge of the library floor, near the stairs, Elusive merely watched the ensuing interactions with a slack jaw. 2 Applejacks, 2 Dusks, 2 Rainbows. It was all so much for the stallion to take in. For a second, he thought to pinch himself for a double check and make sure if he was awake or...
Elusive?
He was startled out of his stupor by that voice. That wonderful voice. He looked off to the side and found no pony else standing there, but the beautiful mare who had visited his shop those short few days ago. Her sapphire eyes staring into his soul with an inquisitive look, and, he noted, a lip set in trepidation.
Rarity, all of this, are you really?
The white mare bowed her head down with a look of shame before returning her torso slightly to the side.
You did say you wanted to see my real cutie mark someday, didn't you?
Gracing those curved buttocks was a familiar trio of gems that he easily recognized as his own cutie mark. This was the genuine article. He nodded his head before opening his mouth again.
So it's true then. It all makes sense now. How you knew of my shame at the gala. How you knew that those carrots were Silver's favorite. How you knew how to cook the perfect broccoli almondine.
She looked back up and nodded.
Yes, Elusive, it is true. I know not if you'll accept me for who I am, or if you will never wish to see me again. But even then, know this truth for what it is, for I am you!
Hearing her actually say it was enough to set him on his haunches.
Oh, Rarity, then why? Why visit me, when you knew that the same blood runs through our veins? While I must admit that the whole thing is rather kinky, now that I think about it, still, were you merely attempting to play with my heart, as so many other mares have tried before?
The unicorn held a hoof to her chest as she gasped.
No, Elusive! I was drawn to you! Even from our hiding place in the Everfree Forest, I could feel the tugs of your presence in my heart.
She dared to take a few steps closer to the stallion, her eyes pleading and open.
Know that, though I had kept my identity hidden from you, the passion that I felt for you within my heart of hearts was nothing but true and genuine. I never meant harm for you. Indeed, if it's not for my own sister, if I didn't have Sweetie Belle waiting for me in my world, I would gladly stay with you by your side, forever.
He stared at her, eyes brimming with unshed tears.
Oh, my Lady Rarity, you truly mean every word, don't you?
I do! Oh, Elusive, I truly do!
Oh, Rarity!
Oh, Elusive!
There was a scrambling of hooves as the two white ponies suddenly became entangled with one another, hugging and kissing each other once more, tears of joy being shed by both parties. From a distance, another pair of unicorns watched the scene. Twilight found herself tearing up as the dressmakers continued their affectionate display.
Well?
Dusk watched the scene with a smile on his own mouth.
Good idea or bad idea?
Good idea. I'm sorry again for doubting you. It's a bad habit of mine to second-guess myself.
Why, sis, I'm shocked. And here I thought only I did that.
Dusk?
The both of them turned at that voice, glancing down. Spines was standing at their feet, her eyes glancing back and forth from her adoptive brother to the lavender mare who looked just like him.
Wow, you two really are... Wow. I'm not sure Am I still asleep?
She took a moment to pinch her tail, yipe, and then look back at Dusk and Twilight.
Huh. Guess not.
Spines?
The stallion placed a hoof on his double's shoulder.
This is Twilight Sparkle. She's me. She's my female alter ego from that parallel dimension to ours. Twilight, this is Spines. You already know.
She gave him a nod before lowering her head.
It's nice to finally meet you, Spines. I would say that you remind me of a certain someone, but at this point it's rather cliché.
She held out a hoof for a shake, which was nervously accepted.
I hope that's a good thing.
The dragoness took another look around at all the ponies conversing in the library proper.
Not to ruin the mood or anything, but I read about this in some of those Nangas Scooteroll let me borrow. Shouldn't there be lots of exploding right about now?
They laughed and chuckled at that for a few seconds, before looking at their friends again. Rarity and Elusive continued to hold and cuddle each other, while Fluttershy slowly and patiently explained to Butterscotch what had happened. The apple farmers had managed to strike up a steady, if uneasy, dialogue between themselves, while Pinkie and Barry kept around the room, cheerfulness unabated. And on top of one shelf, a blue filly Pegasus sat, studiously ignoring the rainbow-maned stallion at the other end of the room, though the both of them kept trading looks and glares back and forth between each other.
Those two were the only ones I was really worried about.
The male magician looked over at Rainbow Blitz.
The ones with the uncompromising egos. They probably won't be able to stay in the same room for too long without getting into a fight of some sort.
The filly let out a breath before nodding.
Then let's go ahead and get this over with.
She levitated a white vase out of her saddlebag.
I'm ready when you are, brother.
He nodded before turning his eyes back to the restive, uneasy scene.
Let's hope that they'll be ready too.
So, Apple Bloom, eh?
Yeah, that's right. When I first saw Applebuck, I done near had a heart attack. It were just so weird seeing my little sister as a colt. I don't think Rarity had it any better than me, but still. And then
Here, she bowed her head down a few inches as she recalled the first day in this dimension.
When I first arrived here, I had thought to myself I'd best not get attached to any pony over here on this side. But then your brother come, and next thing I know, I'm thinking of him as same as Apple Bloom back home. He's not my sister, but he's so much like her.
And I guess my being suspicious didn't help matters none, did it?
Applejack waved a foreleg in reply.
Don't worry about that none, AJ. We both know I would have done the exact same thing. We're the horseshoe on the other hoof.
He was slow to nod back, the gears in his head obviously churning.
Yeah, y'all are probably right. Just thinking about it is giving me a headache.
We ain't exactly thinkers, are we? We tend to feel things out first, you and me. Not like Big Macintosh and his fancy mathematics.
Big Mackin? Oh, I see. He's your big brother, ain't he? Red Gal's double. I have to admit, I'm having a hard time imagining her as a stallion.
Well, if it helps you any, I can't really picture him as a mare myself. Though if you really want a comparison, look in a mirror and imagine yourself with short hair. Say, does Red Gala happen to look like me at all?
The male farmer tilted his head back as he inspected his female reflection.
I can see the resemblance. Save she wears her hair loose all the time. And, well, she's a good bit taller.
Makes sense. I can only guess she's every bit as good at bucking them trees as y'all are, eh?
Oh yeah, I can do as much as I can, but sometimes I wonder if Red Gala don't carry half the farm on her back.
He then faced her with an apologetic look.
If y'all fell into our world about 5 days ago, then y'all got some bucking to do when y'all get back. I'm awful sorry about that.
Has it been 5 days? Feels like it's been longer. Nah, tain't nothing I haven't done before. At least it's been an adventure and a half.
That also reminds me. I done apologize for being rude at the marketplace, but I haven't said sorry for chasing you and Miss Pie yet. So, sorry for scaring your tails off.
She gave him a warm smile.
It's probably a bit late for the scaring part, but I forgive you, Sugar Cube.
He nodded back to her before they both lapsed into a silence. From a corner, Butterscotch tripped trying to put a forehoof on a green spot, resulting in him falling on top of Pinkie Pie, who reacted with a giggle. The laughter filled the library, easing the overall mood somewhat.
Say, how much did our world scare you? I don't think I'd have handled it very well myself.
The green-eyed female tilted her head as she thought.
Well, at first? Yeah, 'twas freaky as all get out. But now that I've been here a while, just like any other old place we've been to, tain't bad, just different.
Yeah.
He nodded before turning his head to focus on something else.
Real different.
For a second, Applejack was confused by the shift in tone in her other half's voice. But that didn't last long, as she moved her head to the side and found the object of his focus. The sight gave her a smile.
Say, we know we're both feeling types, right?
Uh-huh.
So tell me, is it a pitter-pat for you, or is it more of a thump-a-thud?
That caused a reaction, as he suddenly turned away from staring at Rainbow Dash, a thick blush on his snout. She gave the colt a smile before blushing herself and turning to look at the other Pegasus on the far side of the room. Apparently, having made up her own mind, she got to all 4 feet and stretched before whispering in his own ear.
I don't know how long it'll take them to get their spell going. Now's as good a time as any. Her name's Dash. Good luck.
There was a scramble of hooves as the draft horse shook his head, turning to see his filly self trotting away to meet with his Pegasus friend.
Do you think the strip here would look too gaudy?
Let me see. Ah, I can see why you would think that. Just make it a bit thinner. That should do the job.
Righty. Correct as usual, my sweet. Oh, this will undoubtedly be the crux of our lines, love. I have so much to thank Destiny for. These past few days...
Rarity allowed her smile to widen as she leaned into her masculine self. It was amazing how much could be accomplished within a short amount of time. Whatever reservations the pair had about their true identities initially, they had been swiftly put to rest. The couple had more important things to take care of, such as an impromptu interdimensional co-venture between the 2 clothes hordes, one that was bound to make quite a mark on both their worlds.
Such exquisite work.
She took a look at the sketch between her hooves.
And just think, once we returned, it's almost guaranteed that any modifications that I make to any of these, you'll also be making.
Elusive turned to her and flashed that charming grin.
You know what they say, my love. Great minds think alike.
She giggled at this before leaning in and planting a kiss under his chin.
Never before has it been more true.
They shared yet another intimate moment between each other, putting their eventual separation far from their minds. There were no words, simply snuggling and cuddling, and drawing. At length, the stallion finally spoke.
So, Sweetie Belle, was it? Tell me, what's she like?
At the name, the mare found her heart tightening.
She's, well, you should know how it is. She's precious, and I could never trade her for anything in the world. Sure, she can be clumsy and annoying and over-eccentric.
Especially when her friends are around, right?
Oh, most definitely. They're all such darlings. Even when I can't wait to get them out of my mane. Still, I don't think I've ever spent as long a time away from my sister as I have these past few days.
She directed her eyes downward towards her hooves as she sighed wistfully. The white colt leaned in to nuzzle her neck.
You must miss her terribly. I can only imagine what it would be like to be separated from Silver for so long.
I do. I really do. I can't wait to see her again. But it's balanced out with how much I wish to remain by your side. How can I choose, Elusive? How can I choose between you and her?
There was a bout of silence between them before it was finally broken by his voice.
Choose her, though I equally wish for us to remain together forever. I've even considered asking Dusk if I could be in on your return trip. I realize that there's no way I could leave Silverbell on his lonesome, not willingly at least.
He gave her an imploring look, gazing into her deep blue orbs.
Only promise me, if you meet another stallion of your dreams in your world, you won't ever forget me, will you?
The unicorn felt fresh tears spring to her eyes as she realized that he was resigning himself to their fate. Something that she had yet to do herself. Even though his words rang true, she was still reluctant to admit that, despite how perfectly matched the two of them were, it could never truly work. Her horn lit and her saddlebag opened up, a pair of the rubies she had packed coming out into the open. She sat one in front of Elusive, before directing her eyes towards the gemstone in front of her. Her expression narrowed in concentration as her horn began to glow brighter. A sparking began to come off her jewel, a carving slowly making its appearance. The stallion saw what she was doing, and instantly turned to his own ruby, his own magic going into effect. The pair remained silent in their tasks, gemstones flickering as their surfaces were etched, sparks flying every now and then. At long last, they finished, holding up their works for each other to admire. The male had carved his name and signature eye into his. Rarity, with hers, had also signed her gem with a stylized flourish. They looked at each other, and their horns briefly flared as holds were exchanged. The mare took her lover's gem and placed it back in her bag, while the colt stowed hers away into his tail.
I'll never forget you. We'll never forget each other. Will we, love?
He shook his head before leaning in once more to nuzzle her.
No, my love, we'll never forget.
Drawings forgotten, the two white unicorns simply laid there, enjoying their last few moments of togetherness, for however long it would last.
I still don't want to go.
I know, dear. I know.
I love you.
I love you too.
The vase hummed with a steady glow as a pair of magicians combined their forces to look into the voids unseen by mortal eyes. Though their eyes were closed, they still conversed, as their consciousnesses weaved around, studying and probing the dark matter ball of yarn that made up what they knew now to be the multiverse.
You know, I'm still a little perturbed that you took so long to come out. Who knows what we could have done while you were recovering your energy?
Twilight felt her head bow as she looked over another dimensional thread.
I know. Still, I wasn't exactly eager to test out some of those interdimensional travel theories. Imagine if they had been correct. We'd all probably have been wiped from existence several times over by this point.
The stallion chuckled uneasily.
You got me there. Still, my point stands. There's a lot of stuff we could have accomplished together.
She found herself mulling the words over.
Yeah, I know. We probably could have caught up on our studying in half this time, if we really worked at it.
Or have tried out a few of the lesser arcane spells.
Or have tried our hoof at painting? You know, that's always interested me.
True! We could have painted each other.
Now that's something the princess would love to read about.
A silence suddenly fell over the two. In the waking world, Twilight opened her eyes to gaze at her other half.
What's Solaris like?
Dusk opened his own eyes as he found himself smiling.
He's an absolute inspiration to me. I'm not sure there's much more I could say that you wouldn't have to say about your own Princess Celestia.
He paused there, and his eyes seemed to widen as a blush came across his face. The purple filly couldn't help but share his blush.
You've seemed to come to the same realization I did. It seems weird, doesn't it? To think of our mentors as opposite genders and then realize that the love and respect that we give them can so easily bloom into something more.
Perhaps.
He gave a nod before continuing.
Perhaps that tells us something about our own selves, doesn't it?
The silence from before washed over them again, and their horns ceased glowing. The vase stood inert as they tried to marshal their thoughts.
I'm going to miss you.
But we've barely known each other for a few hours.
Does that really matter?
The colt gave her an imploring gaze.
You're like the sister I never had. I've only just met you, and we've only barely gotten to know each other. And now we're working on getting you and your friends back home. We're going to be separated again.
Twilight worked her jaw, trying to think of something to say. Nothing was coming forth. He was right. They weren't going to see each other again.
And I don't want that. I want to be with him now. I want to paint those paintings, research those spells, so many things I want to do with him. I miss Spike, but I'm also going to miss Dusk just as much. I'm sorry. I didn't think this through, but you're right. We're siblings now. And that's just going to make this whole thing so much more painful.
Her eyes cast themselves to the floor as the other unicorn fidgeted slightly in his seat. Uneasily, he got to his hooves and trotted over to her, looking at her face. When she looked back up to his, he sat himself and opened his arms wide, an invitation to a hug, one that Twilight did not turn down. They sat there for a minute or so in silence, listening to the hubbub coming up the stairs from below. Hooves wrapped around each other, they both shared their last few moments of siblinghood in peace.
Hey.
The stallion suddenly let his ears perk up.
I've got an idea.
The mare felt her own ears perk in curiosity at the words.
Oh? Let's hear it.
He bent down his head to whisper. Soon the unease was dissipated, as a smile played over Twilight's face in what she was hearing. I may not be with Dusk for much longer, but that may change with time. And that prospect gave her hope.
Howdy?
Blitz had been in the process of dozing off before the voice had interrupted that endeavor. Blinking, he rubbed his eyes and tried to focus.
Yeah? Who's there?
Down here, Sugar Cube.
The voice was southern, but it wasn't Applejack. At least, not the Applejack he knew. He stuck his head over the bookshelf and found himself face to face with the farm filly. She was looking up at him with a kind and friendly smile, one that was familiar, but still wasn't quite the same coming from a girl.
Oh, hi. Can I help you with anything?
She kept staring, only blinking once or twice.
Actually, hun, I was wondering if I could do something to help you.
He stared at her.
What?
I mean, you're kind of off all in the corner all by your lonesome. You could have joined in your friend Barry's games, you know. Twister's your fave, ain't it?
The apple pony allowed a knowing expression to cross her face. The Pegasus found himself stuttering.
Well, yeah, but I just know that the instant I join in, she's gonna join in too. And I just...
Oh, come on, don't be like that.
The orange equine was giving him a pair of bright eyes now.
If nothing else, I could give y'all a bit of company.
Damn it. Those have no right to look so cute on AJ's filly faker. Look, listen here, miss. Wait, your name's the same as AJ's, isn't it?
Yep. Y'all can call me JJ, though, if you want.
Fine, JJ. I, appreciate your concern, but I'm fine. Really. I'm just waiting for you all to, go back to wherever you guys came from.
At this, Applejack had to chuckle.
Really now? Then why are you hanging around? No pony stopping y'all from flying out and doing that training.
It's because of her.
He pointed a hoof over to the other side of the room, where his other half was currently undergoing a similar chat from his farmer friend.
If I let her out of my sight, who knows what she'll do? She might, I don't know, go out and do another sonic rain boom, and ponies will mistake her for me. That ain't happening. Not on my watch.
He finished this with a snort. The blonde mare rolled her eyes before looking back behind her.
I know she didn't exactly make a good first impression on y'all, but honestly, I'm a bit surprised you haven't challenged Dash to a race yet. You think she'd be the perfect challenge.
Now he found his ears perking up, despite his attempt at keeping an aloof attitude.
Dash?
Yeah, that's right. Her name's Rainbow Dash, and you're Rainbow Blitz. Am I right?
Well, I won't say you're wrong.
The blue colt put a hoof to his chest.
I mean, besides, do you know of any other Pegasus as quick, maneuverable, and as awesome as this one?
She gave him a grin.
Or as inflated an ego and as big as blowhard?
That was pure Applejack. It just stunned him that it had come out of the mouth of a girl. He stared at her for a long few seconds as she smirked. At length, he finally shook his head.
That was freaky. You sounded just like AJ.
Well, I kinda am him, Sugar Cube.
What do you want from me?
I just wanted to be neighborly. Y'all looked like you could use some company, and I thought I'd come over and say hi. Really, Blitz, just 'cause I'm a girl, you don't have to look at me like I just stepped off the moon. I'm still Applejack.
No, you're not!
He nearly bit out in reply. Instead, he drew in a breath before composing and speaking his answer.
Sorry, miss. I know that up here in the noggin you're supposed to be him, but... well, I just can't see it. I mean, for one, your eyes are big.
Well, you got me there.
And secondly, well, you're all curvy.
She couldn't help but giggle at this, as she shyly swayed her flanks.
Why, thank you kindly, Sugar Cube.
And finally, you're small. You look frail.
Her expression instantly shifted into a stern look.
Frail? I'll show you who's a frail pony. You Pegasus ain't made of nothing but twig for bones all around. Get down here, you feather duster. Hoof wrestling time, now.
He was quickly learning to associate this filly faker's image with that of his friend. That outburst was pure concentrated Applejack right there, and he had already gotten to his feet, fully prepared to accept the challenge, when he suddenly remembered.
Oh yeah, this is a girl. Why can't I keep that straight? Sorry, JJ. I usually don't make it a point to hoof wrestle mares.
His eyes darted nervously about the room, trying his best to focus on anything but her. AJ merely raised an eyebrow. She took the moment of silence to look around the room herself, a small rabble from behind her grabbing her attention. Her eyes and ears alighted on another spectacle, and she couldn't help but grin as she gave her reply.
Then would you mind telling me what Dash is doing right now?
Rainbow Blitz blinked, and then looked over to the other side of the room, where he saw his female self and his real farmer friend caught up in the midst of their own contest of wills. Grins set tight as forelimb struggled against forelimb.
Would you look at that? Looks like Dash ain't afraid of letting a little old thing like gender get in the way of a bit old friendly competition. I will. So much for y'all being equals.
She then turned her body away from the bookshelf, as if to trot off.
If you're really that insistent on being alone, I guess I'll just mosey on then. Sorry I wasted your...
Okay, wait.
She hid a grin as she heard the ruffle of feathers, accompanied by the clop of hooves alighting on the floor. When she turned back around, the rainbow-maned male was standing behind her, his eyes steeled, his pose trying its best to project a full aura of confidence. He took a few steps forward before sticking his snout in her face.
You and me, hoof wrestling time, now!
Applejack nodded back, scoring this small victory in her heart, as she tried to keep the pity-pats from coloring her face. As they walked towards the nearby desk, she noted the stallion looking over towards the other wrestling pair. Both parties seemed to have tired themselves out and were resting. Dash in particular seemed to be looking straight at her doppelganger, but not with an expression of frustration like before. If anything, she seemed thoughtful. Whatever it was, it mirrored the look on his own face.
Got any aces?
Nope. Go Grays.
Darn.
Barry sighed as he drew a card.
So close, and yet so far.
Fluttershy couldn't help but giggle, hiding a smile behind her hoof of cards.
That's how the story of our stay here has been so far.
There was a shared chuckle all around the 4 seated ponies, plus 1 dragon. After having finally tired themselves on the multicolored mat, the pink and yellow pony group had moved on to something more sedate. Pinkie and Barry so very much wanted to hold a party, but they had been continually vetoed every time the suggestion was aired. So, go Grays it was.
Oh, gals, I can't say how much of a blast it's been. Nothing against Dusk or the rest of you guys, but it feels good to have a little girl time, you know?
Butterscotch smiled over at the scaled one.
It's not a problem, Spines. You're certainly not hearing me complaining.
The balloon-marked filly snorted as she laughed.
I'm so glad you're having a good time, Spinesy. Even if it isn't a Pinkie Berry Spectacular, if ponies are having fun, then that's good enough for me.
You said it!
Barry bounced in place and yet managing to keep his cards firmly secured.
Hey, if we still have time, maybe we can get AJ and AJ to join in. Twice the number of ponies makes for twice the fun.
Oh yeah, why not? The more gals the merrier. I mean, not that there aren't some complications.
Again, the dragoness's green eyes flickered not for the first time over to the corner where 2 white unicorns chatted, a dark expression on her face.
But still, I wish you girls had come out sooner. Who knows what we could have done?
The Pegasus mare followed along her line of sight before smiling softly.
Oh, I would have loved to have done that, believe me. Though I don't know if you would...
Hey, I know! If we ever come by here again, we should bring Spike with us. I bet he'd love a little guide time himself.
Spike?
Her reptilian brain was already making the connections and shutting down as a result.
Yeah, Spike, cutest little boy dragon I ever saw. Well, he's the only little boy dragon I've ever seen, but I think he's still the cutest. We could bring him along and have the 2 of you meet, and then maybe you won't be so jealous of Rarity being with Mr. Pony who looks just like Rarity anymore. You 2 should have a lot of fun, Eeny, Meeny, Speeny, Spinesy. Oh, that's much more fun to see than Spiky Wikey.
She gave another giggle before returning her eyes to her cards. There was no reply to that. The assistant's face wore a completely blank expression, the only hints of cognitive function going on inside being the rapid widening and shrinking of her slitted pupils, as she attempted to process what exactly the pony was insinuating.
Hey, Barry, can I ask you a question?
Sure thing, Pinkie. I think carrots and fruit salad should make a nice touch.
Crazy Colt, I already found out about that earlier this week. No, I want to ask. Do you know Blues?
Oh, the Jazzmere? Of course! Oh, wait, well, I guess she'd be a he in your place.
Yeah, he is. So?
She looked up at her double, face unusually serious.
Do you think we should?
Barry thought long and hard before looking back at Pinkie. Finally, they both nodded at the same time.
Yeah, we should.
The yellow Pegasi exchanged confused looks between each other. Pinkie simply smiled as she replied,
Okie dokie Loki. Got any 3s?
Oh dear, and I was so close to a full set.
It's okay.
The filly sitting next to him reached her head over and nuzzled him gently.
Not even Pinkie can win every time.
You know, I'm still a bit shocked. You and Pinkie Pie and all your friends...
He raised his head and looked back at the remaining ponies in the room.
You're all us, except as girls?
That's right, Butterscotch. It's rather strange, for me too, I have to admit. But we never meant any harm, I promise.
Oh, I believe you, Fluttershy. Angela wouldn't have... Well, I suppose you would know. But still, you knew that I was you, and yet you like me?
She returned his gaze, a blush going over her cheeks as she fidgeted with her cards.
Well, you liked me. I mean, now that you know who I am, do you still like me?
Butterscotch opened his mouth to answer.
Fluttershy, what I mean to say is, how could... That is...
He closed his mouth and stared into her aqua-green orbs, before simply nodding, a likewise redness going over his own features. Barry and Pinkie suddenly grinned from ear to ear while Spine suddenly snapped out of her trance, as they watched their friends begin to lean into each other, eyes slowly closing, lips puckering. It was at that moment, however, that the library suddenly got very quiet, save for a pair of hoofsteps. Twilight and Dusk were descending the stairs. The atmosphere changed. Gone was the moment of boredom and camaraderie, instantly replaced by a sense of excitement and reluctance. Elusive and Rarity, who had so far kept to themselves, suddenly wrapped their hooves around each other again, as if the approaching unicorns were about to bodily rip them apart. Fluttershy, now knowing that the time was near, suddenly dropped all her cards and launched herself at her double, giving him affection that he was not likely to forget very soon. Rainbow Dash glided towards her book-filly friend, an air of indifference around her.
So, how'd it go?
The lavender pony gave a smile.
I think we've nailed it. It was hard, but Dusk and I both managed to find our original dimension. Girls, we can finally head home.
That sealed the deal. All 6 fillies got to their hooves before each one turned to their doubles. Fluttershy blushed heavily as she disentangled herself from the yellow colt.
When Applejack gave me that message from you, did you really mean it?
He nodded shyly, a blush of equal proportion to hers on his cheeks.
Yes, I did. I'll always think of you, Fluttershy.
She smiled back at him, before darting her mouth forward to steal one last kiss from his lips. While he was frozen in shock, she used the moment to turn and dash away. Applejack watched her race past, before turning to her own stallion self as he walked up to her. A sly smile spread across her face.
So, how'd it go?
He returned her smile with a raised eyebrow.
She's every little bit like Blitz. Kept coming up in ties. Neither one of us managed to out-wrestle the other. You?
The farmer filly tilted her hat back.
About the same, unsurprisingly. Your Blitz is stubborn as they come. I think I managed to get him thinking, though. I can only guess y'all did the same?
Yup. Though I gotta admit, I was trying to expecting her to be so cute when she was frustrated. I mean.
His snout turned red as he ducked his head down at his slip. Fortunately, he was with his own self, who simply chuckled as she blushed alongside him.
Neither was I, to be honest. Glad we had this chance, aren't you?
They stared at each other for a long while before they both extended hooves and shook.
Take care of the farm, cousin. Raise Applebuck right. He needs his big brother whether he says he do or not.
You too, cousin. And don't forget to give Cousin Honeycrisp a call. I bet they'd like some company sometime.
He tossed her a wink. With a shared chuckle and a tip of the hat, the Applebuckers parted ways. The pair of pink ponies stared at the farewells between their friends, before they faced each other. They then exchanged a series of complex hoof maneuvers and body gestures that could have been translated into oaths in some arcane sign language or another. Towards the end, they crossed their hearts, flapped their forelimbs, and then each closed an eyelid as they stuck a hoof into it. Their farewell ritual ended with a clopping of hooves and the exclamation,
"Until next time!"
With that, Pinkie Pie departed her colt self, bouncing to rejoin the rest of her friends. She continued her humming as she passed a scene of reluctant drama between 2 white unicorns. They were holding hooves, and it was obvious that neither one was willing to let go anytime soon.
Oh, Elusive, it looks like this is it.
Oh, Rarity, I can only wish that this moment would never pass.
As do I. But, Sweetie Belle, Silver, we can't leave them be, can we?
No, we can't. Oh, the cruelty of obligations.
To have met, and then to never meet again.
To only know perfection in love for such a short time.
I...
The last word shared between them was not a word, but another kiss, the likes of which they'd never shared before. It was held to a depth so deep it would have made bathyspheres implode before they finally wrestled themselves from each other. Rarity took to her hooves and galloped away, tears flowing as Elusive distanced himself from her, lest his heart cause him to entangle with her once more and prevent her reunion with her sister. That left just Rainbow Blitz. The blue Pegasus colt wound up joining the rest of the men along the walls of the library floor, eyes searching out and then trading yet another look with his female alter ego. Dash looked back at him, face now sharing more surprising emotions with his own, those of panic and regret. Twilight's horn lit up as she levitated an already prepared vase into the middle of the floor. Dusk spoke with the group of mares.
I'll be assisting Twilight in making contact with your dimension. Once you all get started, I'll get out of the way, and you all will be on your own way home.
Thanks, brother.
The magician thanked her other self before looking over her friends' faces, taking in the variety of expressions every pony was wearing.
Are you all ready to go?
Applejack bit her lip.
Twi, I think I'm ready.
From the dressmaker, a heavy, dramatic sigh.
Oh, if we must, we must.
I'm ready to go if you all are.
A party waits for no pony!
Yeah, let's go ahead and blow this joint already.
Dash tried to sound more indifferent than she actually felt. There were nods all around as they sat themselves down around the ritual machina. The blue pony found enough time to direct a glare at AJ and whisper,
Your cold self's got a crush on me. Care to explain that?
While the farmer filly whistled in innocence, Dusk and Twilight turned to each other, closed their eyes, and lit their horns in tandem.
We're going to find the thread first before casting the spell proper. Just give us a second.
I marked the thing with a harmonic tag. Keep your eye open for anything orange.
The prepared vase was enveloped in a familiar light. All the ponies in the room, male and female alike, fidgeted. You could cut the tension with a knife.
Okay, I think we have it. Is this it?
Maybe. Give me a second to get a good look at...
Something did begin to cut through the air. A low hum that steadily increased in frequency, from a tiny noise to a very prominent buzzing sound.
Oh no.
Rarity's eyes grew wide as her ears perked.
Did any pony leave behind a note at the hedge before we left?
Oh, I did! I wrote, "Thank you, Crusaders, for your help. We couldn't have finished our mission without you."
The Crusaders?
Spines stared from the sidelines with a shocked expression.
The Cutie Mark Crusaders? The same ones?
They hid you?
Now Dusk had his eyes open, though his horn was still aglow.
I could have tracked down Applebuck or Scooteroll and asked them where you were this whole time?
Twilight gave an apologetic grin before her expression changed to one of joy, her inner eye spying the tag her other self had left.
I see it. This is the right one.
Quick, get her moving before they get in here and see us.
The unicorn nodded and bent her head down. The glow of the vase began to extend outwards, and Dusk quickly got to his hooves, nuzzling Twilight and whispering good luck before he cantered away, leaving his sister's side as it enveloped all 6 females. The golden effluence began to intensify, the wind picking up around its edges. And then the library door exploded off its hinges as a scooter and wagon mowed down the offending obstacle in their path, before skidding to a stop. The 3 sets of eyes on board the Crusader mobile widened as they took in the sight in front of them. 6 stallions, 6 fillies, and a whole lot of glowin' and blowin' going on.
Cousin JJ?
Applebuck cried out, spying the orange pony inside. He leapt out of the wagon and galloped as if to join her, but as he encountered the perimeter of the field, he bounced off. It had become solid, preventing any pony from leaving or entering.
Cousin JJ!
He got back onto his feet and pounded against the glow.
Miss Rarity!
Silver yelled in turn, running up short of the field, even though his elder brother hurried in to pull him back.
Miss Rarity! Big sister!
Silver Belle!
Rarity got onto all four hooves as she fought back tears.
Silver! Elusive! Take good care of each other.
Applebuck!
Applejack locked eyes with her otherworldly sibling.
I'm sorry, but I've got to go.
Go where? I want y'all to stay. I wanted to get to know you better. I want to be family with you.
I'm so sorry.
Her own eyes tearing up as well, at the realization that she wasn't going to be seeing him again.
I'm so sorry, Sugar Cube. I want to be family with you, but Apple Bloom's waiting for me. I can't leave.
The field's glowing began to increase in magnitude. Unsecured papers began to flit about in the steadily encroaching winds, books flapping open and closed in its breeze. All the present ponies began to duck their heads down, shielding their eyes from the brewing maelstrom. As the farming stallion closed in to sweep up his younger brother, Scooteroll sat back, his purple eyes wide at taking in this scene.
Hey, I never noticed it before, but that mare's got the same hat as Applejack. And that pink one, she looks just like Barry. And Agent D, she really does look just like...
The next thing that happened, no pony had been expecting. There was a whir of blue wings before two Pegasi suddenly appeared on opposite sides of the field, their faces wide and regretful, eyes hiding tears, rainbow-hued manes flapping in the wind.
This isn't over! Don't you even pretend this is over! You'll see!
The filly pressed her hooves into the field as she tried to touch her other self.
We both know who the best flyer in Equestria is.
Don't think for a second that's you. Next time I want a real race.
You're on. Maybe next time you won't be so slow to face me.
Oh yeah? Well, maybe you won't be so stubborn when I kick your flank.
Ha! Well, maybe you won't wait until the last minute to tell me how you feel.
Is that so?
Blitz shook his mane as he tried to shrug off the increasingly heavy weight of regret off his back.
How do you think I feel?
I think you feel pretty lousy. You're letting a pretty filly like me slip through your hooves.
Well, maybe I am. And I bet you feel the same way.
He looked up and pressed his face as close as he could, Rose irises locking with her own.
So what if I do too?
She pressed her face forward as well. She swore she could almost touch him.
Jerk, you should have told me sooner!
Tears finally escaped from their eyes as Blitz yelled at the top of his lungs.
You better come back someday. I mean it, you filly faker.
Same to you, Colt Grutter.
Rainbow Dash.
Rainbow Blitz.
I think I love you.
I think I love you too.
Suddenly, everything turned white. Those who didn't shield their eyes found themselves blinded as the vase erupted in a pillar of light, piercing straight through the library's ceiling. Blitz found himself tumbling away as the field began to contract, compacting its occupants. Applebuck yelled at the top of his lungs, fighting against his brother's grip, while the rest of the stallions grimaced at the brilliant light display. The last thing any of them heard was the dull clap of thunder as the ball of energy leapt out of the great tree and into the summer sky.
To be concluded.